case. That's a very interesting sound. So how to use that in a tonal context? You're going to love this. I know you will love this. You'll see. You'll see. So Dave Santoro, you know Dave Santoro, bass player?
Oh yeah.
He used to play with Johnny Bergonzi. I mean, I remember like 20, oh my God, back then I think I didn't have any debt yet. Imagine how long was that, you know. So Dave Santoro and Jerry Bergonzi, they came up with, and probably they came up with these ideas out of one down, one up, with the idea of mixing, of putting pentatonics in a tonal situation. So they basically, what they would say this, I'm always looking for the
None of them work? Or?
yeah, but I'm using one that all of them work and I'm losing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if it is this one. Yeah. So they would say, okay, for major chords, we're going to use this pair of pentatonics on 1 and major 7, meaning they would play this. On minor chords, we're going to use those pair of triads on the 7 and on the flat 7, meaning this. On dominant chords, we are going to play those pentatonics on the root and on the flat 2, meaning this. And what else? On the flat 5, on the minor flat 5 chords, we're going to play the hexatonics on the flat 7 and the 6th, meaning these. And that's, I think, all what they come up with. They didn't. I mean, it's very difficult that that pair of triads fits on a diminished chord. So, according to this, do you want to try it?
Well, we'd like to hear what they sound like with the chord, you know.
Okay.
Would you mind playing the chord and then the triad pair?
Let's do it better. Let's try to put all this thing here.
Pardon me?
Can I just play the bass?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
just play the chord, you would play the pair.
First major.
Sure.
It's like there's continuity, but there's tension.
Yeah,
Same time.
exactly. It's like you are just coloring, putting color into the chords. So let's play the So the thing is that most of the time they would come with the idea that, well, I mean, what are the notes that could in a way interfere on the sound? Major 7, obviously. So basically, if I had to use this in a compositional context, I would use a very simple voicings in 9 flat, I mean tonic, 9 and flat 3. let's go for the dominant 7. No, no 9. You have to give the pure sound. Yeah, it's very big.
It's getting a sharp 5 and a flat 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the natural 11 too. I'm sorry.
So on that one, you could have both 13s.
Oh yes,
So
exactly.
we could do 13.
Now we got it. That's it. I mean, the sound is very powerful. So on minor 7 flat 5. Very, very powerful too.
Can you repeat what, so like what actual scale are you using? Like what are the notes?
If you would put all the notes in a stepwise order, you would have how's called that scale? Augmented.
Is it the augmented scale? That's the
Augment,
one
yes,
you're
augment,
on?
symmetric augmenting scale. Yeah, that's it. Well, I mean, the way, I prefer to think it that way, because it gives me a more, let's say, angular feeling. So let's put it in a tonal context. For instance, let's do it right here. This is what we would do. You would do something like that. Something like that, right? What else? Now consider this. Is not this one and this one the same one? Wow. Okay, let's get rid of this. Cool. Let's keep going. We would have something like same thing here. Okay, now this is a major third apart. Wouldn't be this exactly the same one like this one? Yes. Wow. Wouldn't it be exactly this one, the same one that this? Yes. What's happening here? We're just using a couple of devices just for the whole thing. Wanna give it a try? You want to play this progression and I play this thing?
Slowly.
Let me see if I remember how we go. Okay, let's do it. A 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3. Isn't it great?
It sounds pretty
It
constant.
sounds, exactly, it sounds very colorful.
Do it one more time.
Okay, 1, 2. Isn't it beautiful?
That's fun.
It is. So, okay, now I'm going, and this is the last thing that I'm going to tell you today. Please don't share those secrets with anybody else. No, that's fine.
You have a question?
Yes? Yes?
Right here. Yeah, so like when you're playing those patterns, are you still thinking about resolving
Oh, yeah.
tension?
I mean, it doesn't mean that you are going to, I'm going to play this all my whole life. I'm just going to play this forever. Well, I mean, for me, it is very clear where I'm going. Sometimes I can choose not to play that, but still, one of the toughest things, and probably the most difficult things, is to understand those colorful notes in the harmony, inside the regular harmony, like the sharp 5, or a sharp 9 in a major chord, and all that stuff. But eventually you can do that, you can play that in a very musical way.
Can I say that it works so well because the thirds of the dominant chords are always in there?
Oh, yes.
Right, in those triad pairs, the
Yes.
thirds and probably the sevenths are in there too. So it's
Yeah.
like the sound, the root sound of the chord, the actual structure of the chord is in the harmony. I think that's important to consider.
Yes, it is.
Because you're playing a lot of notes that aren't, or you could say are altered tensions, but the fact that the thirds are in there make it rooted to the tradition somehow.
Well,
Is that fair to say?
yes, please. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I'm trying to codify it for some of the students too.
And so you use it as just an additional color, you can use it.
That's something that they
Dur-
would use
during your
as an
solos.
additional color, of
Right.
Yeah.
course. Another saxophone player who is into these Dick Oates.
Yeah.
If you hear him playing, he brings into his improvisation this kind of colors too.
Are you familiar with Walt Weiskopf? Because he's doing something very
Oh,
similar.
really?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Wasn't he doing the same
Why
thing?
this guy-
Well, except that it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's as structured.
So let me
Right,
give
right.
you.
Yeah.
Let me give you
Yeah.
grid. Exactly. Let me give you a grid that sometimes I use for compositional purposes. Okay. According to this, we would have this thing here. Okay, let me see. Okay, let's take randomly a pair of triads like B plus and B flat plus. Okay, and let's see what we can do with that. Let's make a grid out of that. We would say that basically we would have that for B major 7. We would have that for C minor 7. We would have that for C sharp minor 7 flat 5. And we would have that for B flat 7. Okay? Are you with me right now? Okay, let's keep going. This is going to be very easy. Da, 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 Can you see all those 12 roots? The chromatic scale? Just for this color here. So let's see how many 2/5 ones we have here. Okay, okay, basically we have three, you know, but basically we could harmonize that with any, I mean, that kind of sound. We can harmonize that kind of sound with any note from the chromatic scale, as long as we take into consideration, you know, these rules. So yeah, that's a grid that sometimes I would use for my compositions. Are you following me? Isn't it interesting?
Well, and you end up with that third relationship, which
Absolutely.
9 steps is the
Absolutely.
third relationship, right?
Yeah.
Is it the same augmented
It's the same one for all 12 chords.
Pardon me?
It's the same hexatonic for all 12 chords with different roots, with 12 different roots. So that brings a lot of possibilities in composition, you know, in terms of composing, you know, new concepts. It's another compositional approach. How many of you are composition major here? No, none of you? Well, I mean, you can use this if you want for, you know, I'm going to let me record a CD just using this concept. Well, that is. 2/5. Any questions? How is it?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
having
go
a good
ahead.
time.
Back to the like your pentatonic method. Like what kind of records can we listen to that like what kind of artists like what kind of songs can we listen to that employ that?
Okay, believe me or not, you should listen to John Aldico.
Come on, man.
Sure.
We can do better than that.
Well, okay, but I mean, any stuff come up with from McCoy Tyner, it's you know, it's full of these devices. Jerry Bergonzi, obviously John Coltrane, you know, from before the late John Coltrane. Steve Grossman is the pentatonic guy, you know. I mean, using different pentatonics together, you know, different keys. He's a master of that.
Michael Brecker.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can I say, you know? It's I mean, because probably pentatonism is such an idiomatic thing for the saxophone, right?
Yeah, it works so well for the saxophone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think a guitar too. I mean, she's a
maybe,
guitarist,
yeah.
so
Oh yeah.
I think it's odd. You know, it fits right into the guitar thing for sure. I mean,
So.
well, thank you for sharing all this. This is
You're
incredible.
welcome, and it's my pleasure. I hope I wish I lived closer.
Me too. Me too. I did too.
Okay, so if you don't have any questions, you have one.
I have one, so this sound is pretty, I don't know, I think some people might call it like exotic or something, but I mean, I think it's really beautiful, and I think you can find a lot of records where people are using this sort of sound.
Yeah.
But do you find that if you're playing it and the people you're playing with aren't familiar with it, that if they don't, because you mentioned Bergonzi developed this with a bassist, you know, and they were playing
Yes.
together and they were talking about this.
Yes.
Do you find that it's challenging, even if you have a lot of control over it, to use it if the rest of people you're playing with don't, because they're not?
Yeah, I know.
Because as you were playing with Jamie, you know, you were
Yeah.
like, well, no, not
I mean,
the
you know
nine,
what happened? I mean, when we were playing together,
Yeah.
you know, I pointed out a question. You know, there are some notes that could interfere. So I mean, if we are playing a minor sound, then why not? I mean, we should keep it in this way. Just
Yeah.
well, I mean, but you know, the piano player must have a big ear. Well, I mean, we are all. We all need big ears. It's not the piano player responsibility, you know. I mean, we have to be aware of if the piano player is just, you know, making some fancy reharmonization. It's our responsibility to get into that mood too, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it could be sometimes if they don't know what's going on, I mean, they probably would take the fingers out of the keyboard, and but it's very easily. I mean, for a good piano player, it's very easily. I mean, you can understand what's going on, especially because you are not playing too far away from the harmony. You know, it's still in there with some colorful notes. But you know, that's something that I always say, and I like to do that with my peers, with my mates, with my mates, just mates. You know, it's just let's talk about what we can do. Let's talk about how you come. Let's talk about where I want to go with with these lines that I'm coming up with. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah.
And do you use it in degrees? You use it in degrees too.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, obviously, you know, I cannot, you know, if I'm playing a session where you know I have plenty of freedom to play long solos, probably why not? You know, I would be just bothering my you know, my friends with my shit. You know. But still, in a real situation, I would. It's not about thinking, you know that. You know, it's about letting you go and not trying to think too much. But still, you know, why not? Once in a while, you know, you can have an idea. And, yeah, let's play a couple of chords with this concept.
Yeah, I can see where it could get you out of a rut playing the same old thing.
Well, I mean, at some point you get bored of that, right?
Yeah, it stuck out to me that you said like that it's something that you use with your students over like, you know, difficult like Lydian passages, because so it's like easier to teach, like the students find it easier than like just like doing the Lydian scale basically.
Well, I mean, that's the first step. I mean, this is not obviously this is not. You cannot teach that in a very early stage of your career as a musician. You know, that would be suicide. In a way, don't you think so? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, it'd be hard to.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to relate it to something.
We have to keep it very, very easy at the very beginning. Understanding, you know, how, I mean, the chord and its full structure inside the tonal world.
For some of you that maybe aren't this far along, I think you're closer than you think, because you just need to get used to these. The outside notes are all a half step away from the inside notes. So just being able to really know those at a really deep level. And,
Oh yeah.
you know, you're almost there, and then you can slowly build a chromatic language like
Yeah.
Jesus is doing.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun because it's an adventure.
Well,
Right.
look who's talking.
Hey. You know, and the funny thing is, I'm more comfortable with using these harmonically. I've used them in pieces, writing. Trumpets, oh, Nick, we kind of touched on it, but this is very challenging on the trumpet. Some of these ideas. So I still, you know, trying to live with some of these things too. Well, you know, I don't, he was into the augmented sound to a point, but I don't think he explored it like tenor players.
Yeah.
Dude,
Hey,
don't
Jesus,
you
do you
think?
remember
Right.
saxophone player Frank Tiberi?
What's the name?
Frank Tiberi? He was
Oh
a-
yeah.
He was
my teacher.
He did this.
He was my teacher. Yes,
I was on Woody's band with him, and that's the way he played.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, in a very crazy way,
Yeah.
because he uses
He would rewrite those chord changes. Too.
Oh my! You know, when
Yeah,
if you see his grids
Yeah.
on his on any standard, you know, he got a bunch of. I mean, it looks like Arabic writing, calligraphy. You know, an amount of 20 choices for one chord. You know, and now I was very lucky for
And
having him as a teacher.
One of Frank's students, because he traveled with him, was Joe Levine.
Wow.
Because Joe was constantly asking Frank,
Yeah, I mean, I not wondered, you know, I mean, he was into that stuff, you know, constantly. You can say that he's out there with all this kind of stuff, you know. But if, I mean, for me, I mean, Frank Tiberi, it's a little more abstract.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he does that, but the addition of whatever
He's still
comes to
playing.
his brain.
He's in his
I know, he's about
his
98 years old
Yeah.
or something like that.
Late 80s, yeah.
Actually, that was one of the reasons I took him, because he was the oldest one in Berklee College of Music.
Oh, yeah.
He was okay, like, this is going to be my teacher, for sure. That was my first pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great being with him. I mean, once in a while he would come to class with this box full of tapes that he himself recorded.
Yes, I've heard those tapes.
Coltrane,
Yes.
Coltrane. That was amazing. I remember when he would used to tell me, so I went to this club and there was Coltrane, you know, playing giant steps for the first time in front of an audience. And I recorded it, and I went home and then transcribed the whole thing. He's so, wow, it's amazing. How can you be almost 100 years old and have that young spirit?
Yeah.
I wish I could have that young spirit when I'm 100 years old. Because you know that's going to happen, right? I mean, medicine is very advanced. Yes.
Can you imply a tritone substitution using this?
Oh my God. Do you think it's necessary? Yeah, well, yeah, why not? I mean,
Change the base.
yeah, I mean, why not? You know, I mean, I haven't thought about that. I mean, that's a question that why don't you make some research on that? You are going to come up with some solution for sure. So, it's a good idea. I'm not saying, no, don't do that. No, I'm just saying, well, why not?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,